Possessed cat turns into a terrifying monster. The Windigo mythology unveiled. My friend Sarah had always loved her cat Misty, but something wasn't right recently. Misty had grown increasingly hostile, swiping out with sharp claws at Sarah and biting her when she just sought to pat her. Sarah first felt it was just a phase that will pass, but the behavior persisted, becoming more hostile and unpredictable as time passed. It began with little things, like hissing at Sarah when she touched her for too long or clawing at her hand during playtime. Sarah attempted to ignore it, blaming it on the cat's mood swings or a bad day, but the hostility worsened with time. Misty grew hostile towards other family members as well, but they either didn't notice or didn't take it as seriously as she did. Sarah was irritated because she felt alone in her observations. She attempted to discuss Misty's conduct with her parents, but they constantly rejected her worries, stating that it was simply a cat being a cat today. Sarah had never been superstitious or believed in anything supernatural before that, but she couldn't escape the sensation that something wasn't quite right. She started having regular dreams about being attacked by Misty in her sleep, which made her nervous around the cat even when it was behaving normally. Things took a turn for the worst one night. Misty was cuddled up at Sarah's feet, blissfully sleeping. She awoke unexpectedly, experiencing a severe ache in her leg. Misty bit her through the sheets. Sarah was horrified and attempted to push the cat away, but it refused to go. "What's the matter with you?" For the first time in weeks, she muttered and caressed the cat's hair. Misty regarded her with a kind face. Sarah heaved a sigh of relief, hoping that things would improve, but she was mistaken. She was becoming asleep when she felt the cat leap off the bed. She didn't think much of it at first, supposing it had returned to its usual location in the living room. But then she heard something that made her blood run cold. A low growling sound from the corner of her room. Sarah's pulse raced, and she hid behind the covers, her eyes wide with terror. In the dim light, she saw two bright eyes that appeared to be looking at her. Sarah's thoughts raced as she tried to make sense of what was going on. Was everything in? Her imagination was this strange nightmare. She understood deep down that none of it was true, yet it was extremely real that it was happening to her. Then she noticed something. It was the unmistakable sound of claws clawing against the hardwood floor, slithering across the ground. Sarah waited for it to notice her and held her breath, but it was too late. Sarah could feel the creature's hot breath on her face as it rushed across the room. Its sharp fangs glinted in the gloom, and it was evident that this was no ordinary animal. It was something much worse. Sarah became frozen with dread, unable to move or scream. She could feel the creature's breath on her skin and the weight of its body on her chest for a moment before it disappeared. As it had first seemed, Sarah lay there trembling as the minute ticked away. She had no idea what she'd seen or what had occurred, but she knew she'd never be the same again. Misty was gone the following morning. Sarah's parents believed she had fled. Sarah, on the other hand, had a feeling that wasn't the case. That cat contained something awful. Something had twisted its form into a nasty and terrible beast. Years passed, and Sarah never forgot that terrible night. She attempted to explain what had occurred to her friends and family, but no one believed her. They felt she was making things up and had just had a terrible dream. Years later, Sarah eventually found out what had happened to Misty. She researched supernatural issues and came upon the Windigo mythology. The Windigo, according to Native American tradition, is an evil spirit that takes over the bodies of living beings and twists them into violent monsters. It was believed that once they are possessed, there is nothing they can do to rescue themselves. Sarah felt Misty had been possessed and that there was nothing anybody could have done to rescue it. Sarah, on the other hand, understood that the memory of that horrible night would haunt her for the rest of her life.